Hey everyone, and welcome back to the girls' room. It's so nice to be back in my office.
Wake up, it's the first of the month.
I didn't have to film last week because episode 10 was pre-filmed already. So it was nice to get a little break in between without actually having to take a real break. And I missed it. So I am happy to be here. I hope you guys enjoyed episode 10. It was so fun to make. It was so fun to hang out with my girls. As adults, you just don't really have the time. You really have to make the time. So any excuse for us to get together is fine by all of us. So we had such a fun time filming that podcast. I learned a lot about filming with people and all of my devices and their battery life. So lesson learned, I do need a new camera at some point that is meant for filming like a vlogging camera, basically, that will film for like hours without stopping, because my Canon is better for photos, but we're not complaining because she does a good job doing what I need her to do. But now I know, and when I interview more people, especially my friends, and we're having so much fun, I need something that can like keep up with us, essentially. But I hope you guys enjoyed that episode as much as we enjoyed making it. Like, when I was editing it, I was laughing so hard. We just have fun together, period. Like, we have so much fun together. And editing it was like, thank God I had all of that time, like 2 weeks to edit it, because there was so much that I needed to edit. And I got it done right up until the very last second, like 11 p.m. Saturday night. I was having these like creative strokes of genius, like to add in the Joe Exotic clip from Sam and the birthday clip from Candace's 30th and all of that stuff. I just like, once I'm editing something, it gets better with time. So I try to edit like right away, because I know I'm gonna have other ideas for the edits as I like marinate with it. So yeah, really good time. But I'm like, I hope people like enjoy it as much as we enjoyed making it. Like, I hope people think it's actually funny, because sometimes people don't think shit is funny. Like, maybe it's just funny to us because we're just like, we just are so stupid when we're together, in the best way possible. But I'm glad you guys got to come into the group chat. I can't wait for the next round of people I'm trying to like set up for my interviews. That's really what the fun is for me in doing this podcast. Like, I really can hopefully one day be sitting down with like people that I look up to, that inspire me, that are funny, that are breaking the mold, that are unconventional, that have a message to share. Like, I really want to be in that space. And I listen to so many podcasts now because I like want to see how people do it. I want to learn. I want to observe, not copy, just like observe how they do it and what really stands out to me. And having people on is so fun. I think it would be awesome to have a co-host. It's just like so hard. Like, I think Sam would be an amazing co-host, but it's just so hard with like schedules and stuff like that to do it consistently on a weekly basis. One of my friends told me I'm not allowed to take a break and that there won't be seasons, that I just need to keep showing up every week and until it gets somewhere. And you know, I'm here for that energy, because I was like, 10 episodes, maybe I'll take a break. And then one of my other friends was like, maybe 20 episodes is a good number to take a break. At some point, I'm sure I'll need to take a break just because life gets in the way, whether it's some sort of prior engagement where I can't film that week or something like that. But for now, we are locked in, baby. Me and you, we are locked in, because this is my passion project. This has like become my baby. And yeah, I'm really happy to be here. So I think I'm always kind of expressing gratitude for anybody who listens. Here I am expressing it again. I am so grateful for the people that take the time to send me messages, to listen, to even a part of it, to watch and listen. Like, my friends are amazing. I hit 40 subscribers on YouTube, which was really exciting because I doubled my subscribers in like, I think like a week or two or something, which doesn't sound like a lot, but YouTube is so hard to grow on, and I'm coming for my YouTube bag. That's where I want to really like shine. And on Spotify, I have like 48 or 49 followers, which is also incredible. Almost 50 people subscribe to me. Like, I'm on their list. They want to hear it, and that is incredible. So forever grateful and really excited to see where this goes. And yeah, I think it's important to express your gratitude as much as you can. We always say, like, give people their flowers while they're alive. Give yourself your flowers. You know, you have to recognize where you are. You just need to recognize your growth. And if other people don't do it for you, then you should absolutely be doing it for yourself. Yeah, give yourself your flowers. So I'm giving you your flowers and thanking you for being here. And I'm giving myself my flowers for the same reason. I'm thanking myself for being here, for showing up for myself. And just sharing this journey and being like really real about where I'm at with it. And I think that it's important to be real with yourself. I'm turning 34 on March 14th, which I think is next week. And I always start doing a lot of reflecting around my birthday. And I'm usually really, really hard on myself. I typically don't give myself my flowers, and I'm doing it right now today, but if I'm keeping it real with you, like, I don't usually do that. I am very, very hard on myself. Like, any mean thing that you think you could say to me or about me, I've said it already, and I've said it worse. Like, I'm my own worst critic and enemy. It's me against me. So speaking of, I had my first troll, which, you know, my friends are like, that means that like you made it. And I love that YouTube tells you when the account was made. So my episodes air at midnight on Sunday, typically. I schedule them and they air at midnight. That way on Sunday, whatever promo, teasers, anything like that I want to put out, like the episode is streaming and it's there. So I put out the teaser and the promo on my Instagram for episode 10, which was with my friends. And I got a YouTube notification. Someone made the account 1 hour ago is what it said. So basically they made the account right after my teaser went out and commented like something so stupid. It wasn't even mean. It was just like clearly a troll. The name was like the dumbest, most unoriginal fucking joke name in the world. Like, I'm not even gonna give it light, but it was like one of those stupid cliche like names that when you like say it sounds like you're saying something else, like really original. And yeah, they left this dumbass comment and I'm like, wow, you made an account 1 hour ago just to write this dumbass comment on my post. Like, you are watching me. You're watching my every fucking move. And thanks for joining me in the girls' room. I'm glad that you're here too. I just had some more technical difficulties. I didn't know that an SD card would need to be like reformatted and like erased or something. So that just kind of fucked with my flow a little bit. This is what I mean. I'm keeping it so real with you. I completely lost my train of thought because that just took 15 to 20 minutes of my time. And it's like one of those things you can't predict unless you're like techie and you know like that these things happen. Like, I'm techie to a degree, but I didn't realize that because it kept saying my SD card was full, and then I was plugging it into my computer, and I deleted all the pictures, everything, and after a 10-minute video it said full. But I guess there's like secret stuff that doesn't get erased. I don't know, but it just fucked up my flow and my train of thought a little bit. So I know I was talking about like giving people their flowers while they're here, and giving yourself your flowers, and the subscribers I hit, and I had a troll and all of that. So yeah, I know that that comes with the territory, and people can be much meaner than whoever this person was, and I'm gonna need some thick skin. It's funny because my brother's always like, why are you so sensitive? Like, I trained you not to be sensitive, because like he was my first bully besides my mom. And you know, my brother was hard on me. He's a big brother. And I'm just such a sensitive soul. Like, I really am. It's just, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I think like people look at that within themselves as a weakness, but I don't. Like, I think it's my superpower, and it's also my Achilles heel, like at the same time. Like, you will hurt my feelings if you want to, even though I'm so mean to myself already, but I'll get over it, because typically whoever it's coming from, especially from people that can't even say it with their whole chest and their face, name, address, social security, like, if you can't address me as you, that says so much more about you than it does about me. But I'm still a sensitive little Pisces, and we are in Pisces season. And like I was saying, I get very reflective around my birthday. I said I'm hard on myself. Things are coming back. I'm hard on myself, and it can be really hard for me to celebrate things when I am just, you know, like kind of like getting sucked into like whatever societal like norms are. Like, I don't really get sucked in, because at the end of the day, like, I'm me and I do what I want. But you know, everyone has those times where they're like, oh, I should have this or I should have that. And one thing about me is I've always been a late bloomer. Like, everything for me happens later in life. Like, always has. I got my period later than a lot of my friends. I am like a slower type of girl in terms of, you know, I like my slow mornings. I like peace. Things always happened for me a little bit older, and I had to be okay with that. I think that was hard for me to come to grips with, because things don't happen fast for me, but then they feel so good when they do, because I really relish in all of the hard work and just everything, like the entire journey. And I think it does feel good. Like, it feels better than something just happening super quick, because you just have like a whole different appreciation for the journey and the work and the struggle and like all of that. So yeah, maybe I'll do like a reflections of 33 things that I learned or something like that. That could be fun, just for younger generations that maybe don't have to make all the same mistakes, but we learn through our mistakes, and a lot of us have to carve out our own way and our own path. And this is something I talk to my therapist a lot, because you know, I always say, well, what if I actually did, you know, go to school and become a doctor or whatever? I'm really smart. I am. And my mom's a doctor, and she always would say, you're so smart, you could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer. But I've always been super creative, and that's always been something that was encouraged also, which I'm very grateful for. My grandmother, she taught me a lot about being creative. She's who I credit a lot of my creativity to. And my mom always you know, that was always important, even though she was academic. She loved that our grandmother could like take us to museums, show us art, encourage that creative side. My mom loved that too. And that's the side that like has always been more me. But I always think, you know, what if I actually was one of those kids that did exactly what their parents wanted them to do? Because there are people like that. Oh, you know, I became a lawyer because that's really what my parents wanted. Especially when you come from like an immigrant family or immigrant parents. Like my mom is an immigrant, my dad's not. But it's different when you have a parent who sacrificed so much to come here. And I mean, my mom's a doctor, she's incredible. And she's so smart. And I can't imagine like coming to a foreign country, not speaking any of the language, and so many people do it and they're so brave, and it's because they want a better life. So I understand the people that are like, well, I wanted to make the best of like why my parents came here. They wanted me to have the education that they couldn't have. My mom came from Honduras. Like she didn't have anything that like we have here. So like education is such an important and valuable thing to a lot of immigrant families, in my opinion, and from what I grew up with, because they didn't have it. So it's like, why wouldn't you take advantage of the education that you have here? And the other side of this is obviously student debt, because I wasn't thinking about it then, but now I'm like, I mean, I have debt, but my debt isn't, you know, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's another reason people might just want to go to work. But I get it, you know, and it just wasn't the path for me. But the people that maybe do go on that path, I don't know, but I could see how not following, like, let's say you were an artist and you just went to law school because your family wanted you to, and you never got to pursue the one thing that like you actually love and that makes you happy. Like that, for someone like me, is death. My type of personality. That is something that's the end all be all. Me doing anything I don't want to do is just like not in my DNA. And I think I got that from my mom and my dad too. They're both like, in my opinion, they're like, to me, like kind of like trailblazers. Like, you know, my dad didn't come from much either. He came from the hood and he didn't have more than like, I think like a freshman year high school education. He's super successful. So the entrepreneurial spirit comes from him. He's so smart. He's so accomplished. He's a commercial real estate broker. And then my mom was like the opposite. She went the other route. So it's like really cool to have seen both of my parents, you know, start with absolutely nothing, because when we were kids, we had what we needed, but we watched our parents like grow. As we were getting older, they were growing in their careers, and, you know, we didn't wake up or be born into like your mom's a doctor, she's this, she's like, no, like she was busting ass, raising me and my brother, and single and like making it happen. And I just can't imagine like doing that, like 2 kids, working, then going back to school. Like it's honestly just incredible and phenomenal. She's a superhero to me. Me and my mom definitely are like oil and water, but I will give her flowers, because yeah, she is an amazing woman. Whether we get along or not, but mothers and their daughters. Maybe one day she'll come on the pod and tell me all about myself. She'll be like, what's a podcast? What the fuck is this? Well, she doesn't curse, but you know, kind of derailed there, but I'm just not someone who can't do the things that I love to do. And I'm very blessed to be able to, even though I'm still doing things I don't want to do because I have to, I'm blessed to be in the position where I have some time, because time is really what you don't get back. You don't get back time. And I don't want to waste my time being upset about the position I'm in when I'm actively making my position in life better, when I'm actively working towards something, when I'm taking aligned action every day, every week, all the time, thinking, brewing about what I can do better, knowing that the payoff is going to be so much sweeter when I get there. But it's me. And with me, I got to be in the shit for a little bit. Like I said, I'm just a late bloomer and my time is coming. I know that it is, and I know that I'm doing all the right things because I am so fucking uncomfortable and I'm so good at making myself uncomfortable, which I've spoken out before. I am just someone who truly needs to be like in it, in what I'm doing, enjoying it, or I'm like a light switch. Nobody's home. She cannot be reached, number disconnected, the bitch has left the building. Like, that's just me. And I'm learning to embrace that about myself. I think a lot of people think it's actually an admirable, is that how you say that? An admirable quality that I'm able to like jump ship when I need to and make changes that will hurt me for that short period, but then pay off in the end. Like, a lot of people can't do that. It's really hard because short-term payoffs, they taste good. And putting yourself in the position to be uncomfortable and like rip the Band-Aid off, so to speak, when you know something's not going right, like that's growth. Like, that's when you know that you're growing, is when you're wildly uncomfortable, everything feels crazy, you're questioning your every move. After you've made some sort of change, that's when you know I'm doing the right thing. And it's scary. It's so, so scary. So I can only say that going into my 34th year, I'm still figuring it out. So if you are in your 20s or younger, or you're my little sister listening or whatever, just know that it's okay to not have things figured out. I don't think anybody has anything figured out. I think the goalpost just moves. So you figure out one thing and then a year later, you got something new to figure out. And such is life. That's the journey that we are all on. We're just trying, you know, there's complicated things that come with each phase of life and trying to navigate it. And that's just the way that it goes. So yeah, I am not really excited about getting older, but I am excited about the direction that my life is going in overall, even though it feels like I have no idea where it's going. I know that it's going somewhere and I can't wait to see where it goes. But I've kind of like let go and I'm just going to show up. That's all I can do. Show up, show up, show up. And the more I show up, the more progress I see. So yeah, cheers to my almost birthday. Here today, before I started recording, there were two things I really wanted to do, and that was I wanted to watch the new Love is Blind episode, which is the altar episode. If once you see this, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I wanted to listen to Renee Graziano on the Dumb Blonde podcast. If you haven't listened to the Dumb Blonde podcast with Bunny, she is a newer, it's like new to me, this podcast and her. Her husband is Jelly Roll, who is apparently like a really big country music singer, but I saw his speech. He spoke to, I don't know if it's like Congress or something. I don't know. He did a speech with like the government. I sound like a dumb idiot. And it was about fentanyl and the fentanyl crisis that we are facing. I just heard about someone that literally like died. People are just dropping dead from doing this one time, with like doing it unknowingly one time because their drugs are laced with it. His speech was incredible. If you have not seen it, YouTube, TikTok it. I'm sure if you just put in Jelly Roll fentanyl, it was an amazing speech. Bunny and himself, I'm pretty sure him too, are both sober ex-addicts. And she has a podcast, I think I said that, called the Dumb Blonde Podcast. And I just love this woman. She is a beautiful, beautiful soul. My best friend actually saw her on New Year's Eve. She was like at her restaurant, I think, and she briefly like met her and told her she loved her, and she was like, I love you too, baby. She is just a light. And she had Renee Graziano on, and I really wanted to listen to it because I love my mob wives. Well, not all of them, but I love Renee. I've always loved Renee. And I know that she has such a story to tell. And boy, does she have a story to tell. I think you would like that podcast, especially if you're from New York. Like, it's so funny listening to a born and bred New Yorker on a podcast like Bunny's podcast, or with just like if I could picture Renee on like Nick Vile's podcast, like that sends me into orbit, like just the thought of it. If you don't know that podcast, the Vile Files, or just a podcast of someone that's like just like white and not from New York, because the way New Yorkers speak and say things like real New Yorkers, like not you moved here and you've been here for more time than you were at your original hometown. Like, I don't care if you lived at home for 18 years and you lived here for 30. I don't care. It's not the same unless you grew up here. And there is, my therapist calls it borough banter. But there is a way that New Yorkers speak, roast each other, just the way that the conversations kind of go. It's just different. New York kids are different. Like, we are built different. And she is like, obviously a typical like Staten Island. I think she's from Staten Island. Staten Island Italian mob child, married, not only married to the mob, but raised in the mob. And she, to me, is like the epitome of like such a sensitive soul. Like, I feel that a lot of people that struggle with like addiction issues and things like that are usually the most sensitive souls, and like the things that life throws at them, like they just, I think it hits and it hurts differently. And I, as sensitive as I am, I just think it's a different level of sensitivity, and it needs like numbing, and that's what happens. And obviously I'm not an addict, but have many in my life and have lost many in my life. And regardless of how bad they might have been during their active using or addiction, the soul in there, when you see it, it's usually like this beautiful person that just like they just can't deal with how tough and rough things can be and people can be. And as tough of a bitch as Renee is, she's like mush too, you know? And it was so crazy to hear this woman's life story. Like, I knew part of it, obviously, about the things we saw on Mob Wives, which is so crazy to think back now that like it was aired that her ex-husband ratted on her father when he just did a 12-year bid and just got back with his family. And I think she said he was home for 3 months, sick with cancer, I think, and got sent back to jail because of her ex-husband. Like, that's just like this much of her story. Like, this much. It's so crazy how insane her story is. So that's a really good listen, and you're gonna be cracking up. She's really funny. It's also emotional, and she talks a lot about her anxiety and depression, and all of these things are so important to talk about. And I'm so happy that over time I have learned so much about it through people around me and through myself, seeing how out of nowhere you can never have, anxiety and then one day have it. I'm gonna keep it so fucking for real with you. I used to think that anxiety was like not real. Like when I was younger, I was like, my best friend would be like, she would like have panic attacks, and I would be like, it's just in your head, which to a degree it is in your head, but it's like not that cut and dry. Like I was a bit dismissive. Sorry about that. And I didn't get it. And I'm so glad that like there's so much information in the world where like you can learn and be taught and be teachable, and always be teachable and always keep learning. And I could be like a bit of like a know-it-all sometimes, and I wasn't as receptive. I think most people will say for the most part I'm an open person, and I've always have been pretty open, but there's always room to be more open, more understanding, more accepting, more knowledgeable, all of it, even if you don't always agree. And dealing with my own bouts of anxiety and depression and things like that, like as I got older and life got real and I wasn't living in fucking La La Land anymore, hearing how dark, and I know from personal experience with other people how dark and crazy and scary it can be when it feels like the walls are closing in on you. And Renee, like, she almost died like 9 times. Like she literally, I don't know if it was 9, but she literally, I meant to say like she literally has 9 lives like a cat. Like she's meant to be here. She has skipped death, not without suffering, many, many times, and had so much trauma. And it's so incredible how people can be so resilient. And she's treating her trauma through different methods, and she's sober right now, and she's trying to help others get sober. And people with the most trauma are always the funniest. That's like what comedians are. Like they're so funny because they've been through some shit. And that's her. Like she's got such a personality, but she has so much lived life experience that molded her into this person. She was literally born into a lifestyle that's so crazy for anybody to even, grasp. Like she says on the podcast, like, she had to learn that it wasn't normal, that like, I don't mean to laugh because it's not funny, but she says like, one week my uncle gets blown up in the middle of the street, and the next, this one gets killed, and I'm at funerals for months on end, just in all black for an entire year. And I'm thinking that this is normal. And normal is so relative to your life and how you grew up. Like what I think is normal, people would shudder at. So I can't even imagine her with the insane stories she has and the life that she's lived, what it's like for someone to hear that who just completely like has no grasp. And I'm not talking about Bunny, because Bunny has lived her own crazy experiences, and I'm learning more about her. She lived a really crazy life. So I don't think she would be like I think she was shocked by Renee, but she gets it. When I say the New York thing, I just mean like the delivery of things, the way that things are said. But anyway, I don't want to get off topic. The way I grew up, like in a Latin family, in a Latin household, the way like our mother was, the way she handled things, like if I said that, it's funny. I remember this one time, my coworker, we were at work, and she's Filipino, and her mom, was no bullshit either. And we had this client in the salon, and she said something like, she was like, oh my God, one time my mom, she like punished me for a whole week. I'm not even kidding. It was something like that. Like she was trying to speak on how rough her mom was and how tough her upbringing was. And she said something that was so like, yeah, I wish that was the punishment we got. It was so minimal. It was like something that I don't remember what the exact thing was, but it was something minimal. Like I was grounded for a week or something like that. And me and my friend look at each other and we just start hysterical laughing. And she was like, she goes to the girl, yeah, one day my mom beat my ass with a hanger. And the girl was like, and we both started cracking up, and we're like, girl, what are you talking about? Your mom was mean and treated you poorly. Like, please shut the hell up. Because in an immigrant household, you're liable to get your ass beat left and right and center. It's crazy, like, how different people's experiences mold them, and like your level of what you think is like bad and good, and where your markers are with that. Everyone's is so different. But Renee's story, I mean Bunny's stories too, like just insane. So that's a good listen. She's so dope. I'm manifesting Bunny and I meet. Like I'm manifesting Bunny like meets me and is like, I love you, and then like we become best friends, and then like we're on each other's podcasts. for a few people, her, Tana, yeah, that would just be like a dream. I love how deep she goes. I think it's refreshing to hear someone that's so non-judgmental. Truly, I think like going on her podcast for people to tell their stories is such a safe space. Like, because I think she really cares about the person that's sitting there. She's very empathetic, and she wants people to have a platform where they're not judged. And that's important. When you're on the world stage, like someone like Renee Graziano, I can't imagine how much heat, how much hate that she's suffered and endured, not only on the internet, but like in her own life and upbringing. So yeah. And she talks a lot about her dad and how her dad is her lifeline. And when he died, she wanted to go with him. And I couldn't relate more. I really could not relate more. Is that how you say that? I could relate more? No, I could not relate more. You guys know I had my dad on the podcast. And I am so close with my dad. And I truly, like, even my girlfriend says, like, God forbid, like, that time is no time soon. That's a loss that I don't, if I survive it, I will be different forever. And I think that's kind of what Renee was saying in this episode, that she, you know, never really recovered from it. And how traumatic, like, that he had to go back to prison. Listen, he obviously was like a mob guy, but I'm looking at this from the point of just a father and a daughter. You know, she didn't have control over what her dad was doing. To her, that was her dad. Not just a big mob boss, or captain or whatever. Like, that at the end of the day was dad. And, that's what she knew him as, dad that loved her, that took care of her. She never wanted for anything. It was her best friend. It was everything. And I really feel for her. I just think her heart's been broken so many times. So, not that she's ever going to see this, but I'm sending lots of love to Renee and lots of hugs, and wishing her well and better luck with men, because the dating stories are crazy too. Speaking of dating stories, let's talk Love is Blind. I just watched this morning the Alter episode. Yeah, if you have, I mean, I'm sure you watched because this will be airing by Sunday, but basically Jimmy told Chelsea he can't marry her. And honestly, good for him. I'm really glad that he didn't make that girl go to the altar and he said no. I don't think that she would have been able to handle that well. I mean, I don't think anybody does, but I do feel that Chelsea's really fragile. I do think that Chelsea knew that this wasn't going to work. I think there were so many reasons why. I think like the drinking and the way the insecurities were coming out was just like signifying how this wasn't the place for her. Although I just also do think she has a lot of work to do on herself. I didn't, my dog's trying to bust in. I didn't film last week, to talk about it so I could backtrack a little bit, but the way she gaslighted and manipulated him about a lot of things, I wasn't into. He handled her really, really, really well. I'll give him that. He handled her really well. And it was good because it made him, you know, think like, do I want to marry this person? And the answer should have always been no for both of them. I think in this last episode where they talk about him saying no and him telling her the reasons why, she just is like still unable to take accountability. Like that girl just can't say like, I shouldn't have done that, I was wrong. And he told her in confidence that he had slept with one of her friends, and she blurted it out on national television. Now, I thought from jump he probably slept with both of them, but like it wasn't confirmed. And he told her in confidence, not on TV, for his friend's sake. And she blurted it on TV. You fucked her. Like, so there's the trust. So I agree with him. I agree with him more than I wanted to, if I'm keeping it 100%. I really didn't want to have to agree with him so much, but she makes it really hard to defend her. You know, you're on national television, millions of people watching you. Your partner's telling you, your partner that you're supposed to be marrying in a couple weeks is telling you, please do not mention this on TV. He told you, which he didn't like have to tell you, that he slept with her. He told you, and it was one of his friends. And now, you know, what if she has a boyfriend who didn't know that they slept together? Like, also just the trust. If I tell Amanda, don't say anything, best believe she better not say anything. Like, that's just like, you don't break that trust. So unfortunately I have to agree with Background Fish more than I'd like to, but yeah, I am really glad that they didn't even go through with the whole ordeal. They definitely were not meant to be at all. Clay and AD, I think that we knew Clay was going to say no, and good. I'm glad he said no, because let me tell you something. AD is the type of woman that will bring up any man that she's with. That's just who she is. She, I feel like, feels the need to show her value through her support and through what she can offer you, offer the man, for that man to be able to grow and blossom into the best version of himself, which is great to have in a partner. Like, you want your partner to be able to uplift you and bring out all the best parts of you. Like Clay said, he grew so much just from being around her. And she was crying, I'm not enough. And I do feel like AD doesn't necessarily see her value, which is sad, because she's a bright, infectious woman. Like, she really is. She's beautiful. She, outside of her looks, her energy is just infectious. Like, she's always like laughing. And like I said, I didn't know if I liked her at first in the beginning, but I do really like her now that I've seen more of her. And it really broke my heart when she was saying that she wasn't enough, because she is more than enough. And you know, he is very immature and has a lot of growing up to do, but the most mature thing he did was say no, because AD definitely deserves more, and she deserves a partner that also brings out the best parts of her and makes her a better woman, not her just pulling someone up, trying to make them better, trying to make them see the value in themselves. Of course, we all need to do that for our partners sometimes, but I do believe that that relationship would have been very one-sided. I'm curious to see if they wound up getting back together, because it sounded like he definitely was like, just because I don't want to marry you doesn't mean I don't want to be with you. But like, you just humiliated her. And she also told you that like, if you didn't want to get married, then it was a wrap for you guys, because that's what she went there for. So I don't know if that's going to happen. You know, I think he wants her to be around while he is growing and changing. And like she said, she felt in a way used because he got all of this benefit from her, but that's life. Sometimes you're the one that's there to pick someone up and make them better. And sometimes it's at your expense. And, you know, it always circles back around where then someone is that for you. And I used to think that all the time because everyone I dated, I would make better and then they would like not be with me anymore. And I didn't understand it. And now I'm in a relationship where it's mutually beneficial. We're in a way that like we both make each other better and both uplift each other. And, you know, relationships are not 50-50. I don't care what anybody says. Like sometimes you're giving 80 and they're giving 20. And sometimes you're giving 50-50. And sometimes you're giving 10 and they're giving 90. Like there's a pull and or there's a give and take. That's what I'm trying to say. There's a give and take in every relationship. And it's not transactional. It's just that sometimes you need more from a person and sometimes they need more from you. And that the scales like have to just balance out where it's not always you giving and them taking. And I think for AD, she would have been giving everything, sacrificing her wants, her needs, all of it, just for him to tell her that she looks good all the time. Like that's really where like the focus was. I think that they were fun to watch and I think that they had fun and they do have chemistry together. But I just think like he needs to get deep with himself and it seems like he knows that. So, I mean, I hope he does. I hope he gets deep with himself. I've seen so many things on TikTok about like he's grooming her and like, I don't know. I don't think everything's like that deep all the time. I think like sometimes people are just immature and especially men. I don't know how old Clay is. I think he's maybe a little younger, maybe 30 or something. She's 32. I can't remember, but like not everyone's a narcissist and not everyone is like grooming someone. Like I think we've gotten to a point where we like really are over analyzing people's every action and trying to label them with some sort of like mental disability or not disability, mental illness or something like that. And I don't think that it's that deep all the time. I think like men sometimes are just super immature. They need to grow up. He definitely has some trauma he needs to work through. And I feel like you could see that he's like struggling. I mean, he told her plenty of times that he was like worried about cheating on her, like all of these things. And I saw like those other people from Love is Blind. I can't remember that girl's name, but she's like, oh, it's not in your DNA to cheat. Like, can someone tell Clay that? And it's like, no, it's not necessarily in your DNA to cheat. But if you were raised in a household where you saw certain things, like, yes, it is now your responsibility to fix that as an adult and make yourself better so you don't repeat. But that takes time. Like, how many people do you see that, you know, they are physically abusive because their father was? Or how many mothers do you see that treat their child a certain way because their mother treated them a certain way? Like, there are cycles of abuse and generational trauma and things like that people need to work through. And I think maybe this was like a magnifying glass for Clay. Like, I don't think the guy's perfect by any means, but like, I'm not getting like narcissist vibes. They seem to have really open and honest conversations. And I think his fears really stemmed from like watching his mom go through the cheating that his dad did. And it clearly affected him. And I think men are just harder to like break through those walls. And if this experience gave him anything to like go to therapy, which he said he would, which I hope he does, go to therapy to figure that out and work on it, then that's great. You know, it's not great for AD, but it is great for AD because him saying yes would have been detrimental for her in that time. So I'm curious to see like where that goes, if they wound up just dating or what. Because I do feel like they have like a soft spot for each other. I'm not seeing like madly in love, but sometimes you grow into love. I think she wanted it to be that, but I don't think either of them were like madly in love. So either way, whether he was a piece of shit, whatever he was, it was for the best that he said no, because she was always going to say yes. I knew she was going to say yes, and I was kind of hoping that they asked him first so that she didn't have to deal with that, because I just like wanted to give her a hug. She did look absolutely beautiful. And I want to talk about the moms. Those women are just like so supportive. I loved the way that AD's mom spoke about Clay's mom, and I love the way Clay's mom told Clay's dad all about himself. I thought that was a powerful scene. His dad, you can tell right off the bat when he came into the suite, big playboy vibes, very smooth. You could just tell, and it was really, I don't want to say nice, but it was really like refreshing to see him hear his ex-wife tell him, you know, she I don't think knew that his dad used to take him with him while he was cheating on the mom. Like, she said she learned things through this experiment that she never knew, which he probably had to tell her because he knew he told AD, or he said it on camera. And harboring that was probably a lot for him too. Like, keeping that in, you can see how close he is with his mom. You know, when you carry around someone else's shit, it gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And our childhood traumas and things that we witnessed, they shape us, and especially when you take it with them. I mean, he's struggling so hard that he feel like he can't be a good husband just because of like what he saw and what he lived, and at the same time idolized his dad. So like, it's like a weird place to be, where you love how this person is and you want to be just like them, but you also don't want to be anything like them because he loves his mom so much and he saw what she went through. And his dad received the mom's message like really well. And I thought it was like beautiful. Like, he started crying, and I could tell like that man lost the love of his life when he lost that woman. You could see it from the way he was looking at her, and she's a good woman. You could just tell. AD's mom too. Very dramatic, but I loved it. I was here for it. I thought it was so cute. I loved when AD turned around and looked at her mom, and her mom said, "Let's go." And she just took her daughter and made sure she was good. And they both seem like they have great, like, supportive families around them, which is important. So curious to see in the reunion what goes on with that. I just did a little deep dive on like family trauma. But yeah, I just think we're too quick to slap a label on people these days. And yeah, not everybody is a narcissist, babe. Not everybody is like a groomer. Like, we are just too overexposed to everything. And yeah, I'm not giving him all of that I'm not gonna give that all to him. I don't think, unless I hear otherwise. I'm adaptable and changeable. Unless I hear of otherwise, I just think he's a little bit superficial, and I think he's open about that too. So it's like, you would be mad if he was lying, and you would be mad if he was telling the truth. So like, there's no pleasing people. Where that goes. Johnny and Amy, they're adorable. We obviously knew they were saying yes, and they are our only Love is Blind couple this season. And they're solid. I think they're solid. I would be surprised if I saw otherwise in the reunion, but I think they are adorable. Amy's parents are so fucking cute. They love her so much, and it's so nice to see how their families just were so kind to each other and blended well together. And it's just nice when I'm sure it's nice when you know that like your parents are going to be nice and just like kind of mesh well with others. So congrats to them. And yeah, we'll catch up next week after the reunion. I'll try to watch it before I film. So we'll see what happens. I'm eager to hear the other sides and what they say at the reunion. Love is Blind reunions are usually pretty boring. So I think I like a little love and hip hop in my reunions. A little bit more drama, a little housewives in my reunions, but we'll see what happens. I am going to end this episode with my high and low of the week, which I was forgetting to do, and I'm going to try and do it now. So my high of the week, what's my high of the week? I'm a very simple girl, so these are never going to be like, you know, over the top. What's my high of the week? I think my high of the week is I hit 40 subscribers on YouTube. That was like a couple days ago. So that's really major and important, and I'm really proud of that. So we hit 40 subscribers on YouTube. That's a high. And my low of the week is that, you know, I'm just second guessing myself, being hard on myself. So I'm going to try and not do that for the rest of the week. And yeah, I think that's it. So as always, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, concerns, stories, anything at all that you want to send, please send it to tgrpod.nyc@gmail.com. And please follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and subscribe here on YouTube and Spotify if you haven't already. Leave me a rating, leave some comments, give me some engagement, and let's see where this can go. I hope everybody had an amazing week, and I'll see you next week for another episode of The Girls Room with Clarissa. Love you. Bye.